What's going on, everybody? Today on Discover the Meeple, we're going to be learning how to play War Chess, a 2 or 4 player game published by AEG Games, designed by David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin. In the game, players will be trying to control different areas here. You see these little green spaces. So they're going to be trying to control those markers. In a 2-player game, it's 6, and the first player to control 6 different spots wins the game. Before we start getting into gameplay, let's go ahead and go over setup. So each player in a 2-player game is going to get 6 of these. You'll put those two of them out on the board on each side. The 4 will remain in your supply. Going along with those markers, each one has a nice little coin. It's actually this one. You see, that's the back of it. So you do that. You have the initiative marker. You can go ahead and flip that, and that'll be starting player. So go ahead and put that on that space. So this player will start. You have all these different cards. When you're more familiar with the game, you can randomly pick 8 of them and then draft those like in any snake draft. So the first player would pick 1, second player would pick 2, etc. Keep going back with that until each player has 4. There's a recommended setup in the rules for your first game, but then you can also shuffle these and deal 4 to each player. So we're going to do that for this video here. So each player will get 4 cards. You got these. And player got the cavalry, crossbowman, warrior, priest, and lancer. Okay. All pretty good cards. All right. So lay those out. So both you and your opponent know what type of units you have. You can go ahead and get the units from the supply. One thing you'll notice on the card has the icon of the coin you have for each one of them, the amount of units, the type of movement it can complete, and then any special kind of tactics or rules specific to the card. So in this case, this character can move 2 spaces. So the rest of the setup, each have your nice bag here. You're gonna add 2 coins from each group that you start with. The other ones put off to the side. Those are coins that you can recruit later, but you don't start with. Same thing over here. All right. So those 8 of the 2 each and your royal coin, you're gonna go ahead and put in your bag. So it's like a bag builder. Do that on this player as well. And now you're ready to play. All right, so we're all set up. Let's go ahead and go through a few turns and go through general game flow. So first thing each player is going to do, they're going to draw 3 coins from the bag. They can look at them, make sure they don't show their opponents. You put them on their side of the board. Okay, so that is done. Now, player one will go since they have the initiative. So let's see the coins we have. Okay, so these are what we have. All right, so given what we had, and the rule book does a nice job of kind of laying out the different things you can do. We are going to deploy. So it's a placement action using unit coins. And we are going to deploy this unit right here. It is a mercenary. So when placing units, you need to make sure to place them in areas that you have your control marker on. If you have already deployed a type of unit, you cannot deploy that same type of unit in a different control area unless there's an exception in that case, in which we will explain in this game, which is the footman. But typically, they have to only be one set of units on the board. So that's player one's first turn. On to player two. This is what they have. I think player two is going to place this as a deploy action. Okay. Back to player one. These are the things they have. This is a royal coin. Each of us have one of them. In the base game, a royal coin is allowed to recruit units or claim initiative or pass. We'll go over those as it comes up, but otherwise, they're not able to do anything. In the expansions, they do get a little stronger, um, but we'll go over those in another video. So, what I'm going to do now is I place the mercenary out, and now it says after you recruit a mercenary, you may maneuver your mercenary unit. So, what maneuver, if you look at here, the different things you can do for your maneuver is you can move, you can control, you can attack, or you can do your tactic. So, a typical move is just moving one space in any available spot. So, yeah, that's what move is. A typical attack is if you're adjacent to a character, an enemy character, you can attack them, and then they would remove their unit from the game, and yours would stay there. So that is an attack, standard attack. Claim is, or control is, if you're on a space that has either a green area or your opponent's control marker, you can put yours there, and if it was your opponent, they would get rid of theirs. So those are the different things you can do on your maneuver. We're not in any position to attack or control, so instead we are going to recruit the unit. So looking at what recruit is, discard face down coin. So using this coin that I have, I am going to discard it face down and recruit this unit from my supply. The unit goes face up, and I can execute a maneuver. And I will move here. Play passes to player two. They have these units here. So they are going to execute a maneuver, discarding a face up coin to do a move. So they have to use a coin of that same type, and then they can move. They're going to move here. What the warrior priest can do is, after the warrior priest attacks or controls, draw one coin from your bag and immediately use it to take any action. So being able to control these different areas allows player two to get extra action. So they are anxious to get these in a position to claim. And then if for some reason I go, or when I decide to try to counter that, if they're able to attack my units, they also get it like an extra coin, which allows them to get an extra action. So back to player one. Player one has coin here. They're going to discard that face down, recruit another mercenary, and now place the mercenary here. So now player one is in a position, if they draw another mercenary out of their bag, to claim a control, claim the first control. The Lancer will be placed here. Now, with the Lancer, how their card works is they can, as their tactic, move 1 or 2 spaces and then attack all in a straight line. So you can, so they're nice because they can move and attack in the same, using the same coin, when typically you can only move and then attack using separate coins and separate turns. The thing with the Lancer, though, is they can only attack by using its tactic. So during a normal attack, someone could attack somebody that's adjacent. The Lancer says they can only use their tactic, so they can only move 1 space, then attack, or move 2 spaces, then attack. Player 2 likes going here, because now if player 2 draws another one of those Lancers, they're in a position to use their tactic and take out this unit, potentially before they can execute a control. So at this point, that round ends. We're out of coins on both sides. So we're going to go ahead and draw our next 3 coins. And because player 2 did not claim initiative, player 2 will still be second player. Okay. All right. So this is what player 1 has. They have these 3 coins. At this point, any of those are fair game to deploy. But I think what player 1 wants to do is they're really concerned that the Lancer is going to use their tactic and take out that unit before they have a chance to put a claim token on there, and in doing so, having to start recruiting from these 2 spaces in future turns. So it's in player 1's best interest to go ahead and try to execute a maneuver with the mercenary. They don't have any mercenary coins in their hand, but they can use what's on the card. So they're discarding a card face down to recruit a mercenary, and now they can execute a maneuver which includes control. So they get to put a control coin under the spot, and now if the Lancer would destroy the mercenary, player 1 still has a control marker on there, so player 1 could back it up with some different type of unit, etc. Okay, on to player 2. I think player 2 was really hoping that they could get a Lancer to defeat that mercenary. They didn't. They still have some strong units, but what they're going to do now is they're going to go ahead and deploy crossbowmen to that open space. Notice the warrior priest moved, and now the crossbowman has a space to deploy. Back to player 1. Player 1 has these coins available. Player 1 is going to go ahead and place the light cavalry there. The nice thing about the light cavalry is they can move 2 spaces as their tactic. So in a future turn, if I drew a light cavalry, I could move them 2 spaces in a turn, and then I'd be in a position to claim another territory. And if the first player to gain 6 wins, so player 1 is off to a good start with the mercenary and potentially others. Okay. Back to player 2. Player 2 has these units. Player 2 is going to go ahead and move crossbowman, discarding it face up to execute a maneuver, and the maneuver being a move. Okay, back to player 1. Player 1 has this footman here, and I think player 1, just to show you what the footman can do, it says perform 1 maneuver with each footman on the board. 2 footman units may be deployed at one time. So you see there's 2 footman units on the board. They still can only maneuver just the normal way. But like in this example, it shows the footman attacking and then also moving. So they can have 2 on the board, which will be nice. But I think for now, we're not as worried about, we kind of want to spread out first and then have footmen on the front lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to recruit another light cavalry with that. So the player 2 sees that I recruited a light cavalry. They don't see what type of unit I used in order to get it. Okay, and then player 2 has the cavalry. Cavalry is different than the light cavalry. You can see here, the cavalry can move and then attack. And typically, you have to do those in separate turns, but the cavalry it only moves 1, but then it does attack another unit, so that can be nice. So, and also, they have only 4 units, and the light cavalry had 5. At this point, both players have taken their turn. They're just going to draw another 3 coins. Player 1 still has initiative. Player 1 drove these. So, I think player 1 is concerned that if they wait any longer with this mercenary, that the lancer will attack it. So, because let's say player 2 did not deploy the cavalry last turn, they could have decided to claim initiative, and then they would have had first turn this time. In this case, they deployed it. But yeah, you kind of live with your decisions. So player 1 will go ahead and discard that face up to execute a maneuver and move the mercenary out of the range of the lancer. Because you can see now, in order to reach the mercenary, the lancer would have to move to this space to be able to attack in a straight line per their tactic card. So player 1 decided to do that. Now it's on to player 2. Player 2 has these coins, and you can see they did have a lancer, so if they had a chance to attack, they would have been able to do that. Okay, so player 2 is going to go ahead and play their cavalry to execute a maneuver to 1 space. Back to player 1. Player 1 is going to execute the light cavalry's tactic to be able to move 2 spaces. And they do that by discarding the light cavalry face up. Back to player 2, they have these coins. Player 2 is going to move their piece there to be in a position to attack the mercenary on a future turn. Back to player 1, they have this here, the swordsman. Swordsman is going to go here, kind of in an effort to protect that area, because let's say that a player over time was able to go here on the other team. I can no longer deploy units at this location until this unit's destroyed. So it's definitely in my best interest to defend this while it's there. Okay, so player 1 executed. Now it's back to player 2. They have the coin here. Player 2 is tired of being second, so they're going to get initiative, and now they are player 1 for the next turn. If player 1 still had a coin, they could not claim initiative this turn. That initiative can only pass once per turn. So it's on to the next round. Player 1 and player 2 no longer have any coins in their bag, so they're going to add all the coins from their discard into their bag. Their discard consists of all the coins that they've played this time and the ones that they've recruited. So it's separate from their supply. Player 2 is going to do that as well. And each will draw 3 tokens. As you can see, player 2 had much less coins to draw than put back in their bag than player 1, so they have better odds of getting the coins that they want, because they have a lot of units deployed, and player 1 did a lot of recruiting with mercenaries, so while they're more likely to get mercenaries, the other ones, like a deck builder or bag builder, are a little harder to get. So these are different pieces that player 1 got. Player 2 is first. They'll go ahead and go first. So player 2 has these here, and they are going to spend their warrior priest to go ahead and move there. And then if they're able to claim a token, they'll be able to follow their warrior priest card, which says, after warrior priest attacks or controls, draw 1 coin from your bag and immediately use it to take any actions. So player 2, if they attacked or claimed a territory, would be able to have another coin and play it immediately, which can be nice. So that's player 2. Now it's player 1's turn. Player 1 kind of knows that player 2 doesn't have one of the lancers, because if they did, they probably would have used it to attack the mercenary in the previous just action that they did. Because they didn't, they know they probably don't have it. So what player 1's going to do is they're going to go ahead and execute a maneuver to move mercenary to that space there. And the reason why they did it there is, as you remember, the lancer cannot use a normal attack. They can attack only using their tactic, and they have to move 1 space and then attack, or move 2 space and attack. So being that player 1 is right next to the lancer, the Lancer would not be able to attack it. So they're in a good position still, even that they're really close to each other. Okay, back to player 2. They have these. Player 2 is going to play this to get in position here. And now there's 2 different things that player 2 could do on next time they draw a cavalry. They could do the maneuver to claim that green area, or to use their tactic to move and then attack this light cavalry here. But that's for another time. Okay, back to player 1. Player 1 has these tokens here. Seeing that player 2 is getting close to this area, they're going to make sure to execute a maneuver to claim that territory. And now if it gets destroyed, they can still recruit from there. So that's player 1. Back to player 2. They have this coin here. They are going to spend the coin. They do it face down. And they are going to get another one of these warrior priests, because they want to be able to get extra actions if they're able to attack with them, or if they're able to control an area. So back to player 1. Player 1 has this. I think player 1 is going to go ahead and take initiative. So flips over, and they do it face down. So on to the next round. Draw 3 coins. Player 2 only has 2 coins. So what they would do is draw those 2, all the remaining coins that they have go in their bag from their discard, and then they draw out 1 more. Okay. Now it's player 1's turn first. So player 1 has these. They cannot move and attack like the cavalry, so I think what player 1 is going to do while that Lancer is still there is they're going to spend their token face up to execute a maneuver and attack this Lancer. The Lancer goes out of the game, and now if player 2 wants to deploy a Lancer, they have to deploy it in these 2 spots for now, or any other spots that they take over. Okay, so this is what player 2 has. I think player 2 really isn't threatened by this light cavalry. So I think player 2 is going to go ahead and, just like player 1 did, take a control marker. And now they have this territory by executing a maneuver. Okay, so now player 2 has 3 places that they can deploy units from. All right, on to player 1. So that's what they have. Player 1 is a little concerned about this build up here. They hope to be able to deploy some other unit other than light cavalry. Light cavalry is really good for moving around the board, not so much for attacking. It's just like any standard unit. But before they use their last coin for their light cavalry, they don't want player 2 to know what kind of coins they have. They're going to discard this and recruit another footman. Because footmen are nice. They can be in 2 spots, so they can provide some good defense. On to player 2. Player 2 has these units available. They are going to put out this Lancer here, which now, while not being in a position to defeat this mercenary, is in a position to defeat the swordsman if given an opportunity. Okay, back to player 1 of light cavalry. I think this is the point where player 1 wants to skedaddle from that spot, and they would play, so they play a maneuver to move with their tactic. Player 2 has the crossbowman, and I think player 2 is going to, so one other thing they can do with their coin is they could decide to bolster, which makes that unit stronger from and more defensible against an attack, because if another player would destroy the unit, instead of having to redeploy in a where you have a control marker, you would be able to have that last coin on the board and keep going around. So I think player 2 is going to go ahead and move here so they can start being defensive against these other units. How the crossbowman works, yeah, like I said, is you can attack something 2 spaces away. It's got to be in a straight line, but if there's a unit in between that unit, it can't attack that two away, but it can do normal attacks, unlike the lancer from adjacent spots. Okay, so that is end of that round. On to the next. Draw 3, like the usual. Okay, so still player 1's turn. Player 1's going to look at what they have. All right. So I think first thing player 1 is going to do, they're going to go ahead and spend one of their mercenaries to claim this territory here. Now they only have 1 left in order to win. But if player 2 is able to take away one of player 1's territories, it's going to take a little longer for player 1 to win, or player 2 might have a chance to come back. Okay, this is what player 2 has. Player 2 is now going to play one of their priestess face up and claim this territory. So now player 2 has 4 territories, and what the warrior priest does again is, after attacks or controls, draw 1 coin from your bag and immediately use it to take any action. So definitely nice right now. And so player 2 doesn't have any coins in the bag, so like usual, they're going to put the coins from their discard pile in and draw the first coin that they see, the cavalry unit, and now they must, per the card, the priest card, they go ahead and carry out that action. So they are going to move here to get in a position to either take on this section, this control marker, or be able to use their tactic to destroy this light cavalry. That goes on the discard, and now it is back to player 1. Everyone sees these. I think player 1 is going to go ahead and play the mercenary. Ooh, see, before it was just next to the lancer, so the mercenary wasn't as big, wasn't as in of a threat as because the Lancer couldn't attack it, but now it's right next to a crossbowman too. So crossbowman could destroy it. Know that I have one bat and left in my bag. You know what? I think it's still probably good to move it here because it can't be attacked by the Lancer. If player 2 has a crossbowman, it can destroy it now. But it also gives me an opportunity to deploy a unit there, which would be nice. So I think that's what player 1 is going to do. Now it's player 2's turn, and they have these. Player 2 is going to go ahead and they're going to actually bolster their warrior priest. The reason why they're doing that is if they start moving too close to these units, they would potentially get destroyed, and then they'd have to redeploy, and they just want to be in a position that they can move and then attack at a later time. So that's what player 2 does. Player 1 has this left, and now player 1 is going to go ahead and deploy their unit there to protect that position. Player 1 could also put another footman in a different spot because that's what their footman's card allows for. Okay, back to player 2. Player 2 has this coin here, and I think player 2 wants to, they're going to claim initiative, so discard it face down. Now player 2 has initiative. So now to the next round, player 1 only has one coin in their bag, so they're going to put everything back in their bag. Okay, and it's player 2's turn first. Seeing what player 2 has, they are going to spend their crossbowman to attack this mercenary before it has a chance to attack it, and it's gone from the game. Player 1's turn, which is what player 1 would have done if they had given the opportunity. So now that that unit's been destroyed, player 1 is going to go ahead and place their mercenary in this other spot here that's available. Back to player 2. Player 2 has these coins. Now that they're bolstered, ooh, you know what? So player 2 knows that the warrior priest only has 4 coins based on the card. You see the card has the different number on them. So warrior priest only has 4 coins, and knowing that there's 2 on the board and the 1 here, it would take a bit in order to get the next warrior priest. So before kind of showing their hand and moving it, they're going to discard their royal coin to recruit another warrior priest. Player 1 has these. So player 1 is going to go ahead and I think player 1 is going to, yeah, it's going to go ahead and move the mercenary to the next spot, hoping to get this. If they're able to get that, then player 1 will win. Back to player 2. You have the warrior priest. Now they're going to go ahead and move, and they're just going to move here so that player 1 cannot attack with both of those units if they're drawn. So now it is player 1's last turn. I think player 1 will just put that there. So now it's bolstered, and now it's stronger against attacks like player 2 did with their warrior priest. So now that's the end of the turn. Each player was going to draw 3 coins. And initiative is still with player 2. Okay, so this is what player 2 has. All right. So player 2 is worried with player 1 only having 1 more claim marker. So player 2 is going to go ahead and move their cavalry to one space. And now if player 2 draws another cavalry, they'll be able to claim that. And now it'll be harder for player 1 to win. Okay, so these are the coins that player 1 has. I think player 1 is going to usually, I mean, it's not always the best option, but player 1, they don't want to lose that unit. So I think player 1 is going to knock out this warrior priest. On a player 2's turn, they have these here. So player 2 is going to spend their crossbowmen to destroy the light cavalry. And that they use that with their tactic. Because there was no character here, they could go ahead and use their tactic. This is what player 1 has. They're going to go ahead and spend their mercenary to get in a position to, if they can claim that before player 2 takes over that spot, they would win the game because they would run out of tokens. So this is the last one they have. I think player 2 is going to recruit another cavalry. So if they have to draw again, better odds of getting that. And player 1 is going to go ahead and claim initiative because hopefully they're able to draw a mercenary on their turn and win before player 2 can claim theirs. So there is a good timing for claiming initiative, and that's what player 1 is hoping to be able to do. So each player will draw tokens. And being that it's player 1's turn, they are going to go ahead and use this coin to claim the last spot, and now player 1 has won. Let's see if player 2 did not have any cavalry. So some of it is a little bit of luck of the draw. But if they did and they had initiative, they could have taken this off, changed it with their own, and then player 1 would have had to have another turn. So that would be the end of the game. We'll make sure I covered all these things. So we know deploy, bolster, claim initiative, recruit, pass, move, control, attack, tactics, which are different for everything. There's different attributes and restrictions based on the type on the card. And it's the first player to place other control markers. So as I mentioned, there's a 4-player version where you can play as teams. And then these spaces are available. And also there's a drafting if you don't want the random luck of getting the different types of cards. That's also something that's usually what I play with. I like to be able to draft. Once you're more familiar with the game, you're going to know which units work well together. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. So one thing I wanted to go over before ending this was just go over the different types of cards that could come up in any given game. As I mentioned at the beginning, there'll be randomly 8 placed out, and then the players can either draft them, or you can just have randomly 4 to each player. We didn't really go into the swordsmen in this game, but if they would have attacked a unit, they could have then moved after that, which could be nice. Some of the other cards in the game, you have the marshal, who chooses a unit that is within 2 spaces of the marshal. The chosen unit attacks if able. So it attacks, so it is able to attack an adjacent unit. It wouldn't be able to execute a tactic. The other unit won't be able to execute a tactic. That's something else. So it kind of gives orders, and then that unit can carry out the order if able. So that can be nice depending on the situation. You have the Royal Guard. So this is one of the things in the base game, the Royal Coin, the one that could only recruit or claim initiative or pass. In here, if you have the Royal Guard, you can also discard the Royal Coin to move a Royal Guard. So that would be like a way to getting some extra movement. And then also when the Royal Guard is attacked, you may remove a Royal Guard coin from the supply rather than from its unit. So if you had a lot of other Royal Guards still in the supply, instead of having to remove the Royal Guard coin from the board, you could remove it from the supply. So that could come in handy. It's a real good unit to kind of have up front to defend your territories. The Knight can only be attacked by units that are bolstered. So bolster being a unit that consists of 2 tokens at least or more. The Knight cannot be attacked unless that a unit is bolstered. So it's good at providing some defense, unless the other player decides to bolster the unit. It can't be attacked. The Archer. So the Archer can only attack by using its tactic, but it can attack a unit 2 spaces away. The intervening space may be occupied by a unit. So unlike the Crossbowman, which there was a unit in the middle, the Crossbowman couldn't attack that player 2 spaces away. Archer can, and it doesn't need to be in a straight line. But they can't attack anything right next to them because they can only attack by using its tactic. The Ensign, its tactic, so it acts like a normal unit other than its tactic is choose a friendly unit within 2 spaces of the Ensign. The chosen unit performs a normal move to a space within 2 spaces of the Ensign. So you can't have the unit go over here because that would be 1, 2, 3 away from the Ensign, but it could move here because it was within 2, and now at this new space, it would be within 2. The Scout's a really nice one. So the Scout may be deployed adjacent to any friendly unit. So remembering deployment, typically you need the control marker in order to deploy. A Scout can just deploy adjacent to a friendly unit. So if a unit was there, it could deploy in any one of those spots. So it'd be super handy if you're able to get some, like, let's say you get a light cavalry out there quick, and then the Scout can be adjacent to it, so it can take over territories pretty quick. Berserker's a really good one. So after the Berserker maneuvers, you may maneuver it again, discarding a bolstered coin from the Berserker unit. You may do this multiple times, but you may not remove the final coin. So if you've been able to bolster a Berserker, let's say with 3 coins, after the Berserker maneuvers, which again is either claiming, moving, or attacking, just by the normal, so you'd spend a coin to do that, you discard a coin, and then you could, if you had other Berserkers on that from being bolstered, let's say it decided to move here, It then could discard a coin from that bolstered unit. It would go to the coin, Berserker coin would go to the discard, and then it could move again. It could attack if there was a unit there. There's a lot of different things. So if you build it up, you can do 3 actions on 1 turn. So Berserker's really nice. Pikeman. When the pikeman is attacked by an adjacent unit, remove a coin from that unit. So the pikeman is really good at defending if a unit is adjacent to it. The unit would take out the pikeman, but then the pikeman will also take out the attacking unit. So the way to counter that is to have units that have range, maybe like the archer, so they don't have to attack it from adjacent. But if the pikeman kind of moved adjacent to a unit, even if the unit has range, if the unit then attacked it within the next space, that unit would be destroyed as well. So those are the other ones that come in the base game. Each expansion has a lot of different cards. And probably go over those in another video, but just kind of wanted to give you an idea of all the other cards that are available in the game.